Hello, my wonderful people. Welcome back. We are in discussion of intimacy matching nakshatras and see how that play out in dynamism of all kinds of intimacy relationship. And this doesn't have to be restricted to the stereotypical heterosexual male female. It can be LGBTQ as well because the dynamics of intimacy are pretty much the same. Nakshatras are pretty much the same, planets are pretty much the same. So, what are we trying to do essentially? We are trying to unpack consciousness in terms of intimacy. Any conversation about intimacy, unless it begins with consciousness as the base, is doomed from the get go. Just my take on it. And we need to at least embody those 6 principles shown on the screen. We need to have nurturing, we need to have kindness, we need to have freedom, we need to have allowance, not necessarily acceptance, empathy, and vulnerability. These are some of the core, you might say. And they all stem from the need for any consciousness, be it man or woman, anyone in the partner, in terms of intimacy, to have an expansion of that. Let's say from the beginning of your relationship, when you are still dating or when you are still courting the man or woman, those days, the initial spark that is felt, the initial chemistry that is felt, isn't it? That needs to expand more, not go into a contracted space. Otherwise, the whole charm is lost. The whole magic in a relationship is lost, let alone intimacy. It's very far away here. Any kind of contraction, any kind of blame, shame, judgment, guilt, anger, shadows, and so on creeps in, it will spoil this beautiful thing that humans are capable of. Therefore, like in previous videos, I said consciousness desires expansion 100%. And in intimacy, it shows up more because this is the Navamsha of an individual playing out with another Navamsha. That is the most intimate part. And I'm not talking physical, that is the last one. I'm talking at all other levels like Mercury, Venus, and Moon. Okay? So, matchmaking, as much as it is a fever in India, especially when they look for marriage or married partners or parents go around digging for potential spouses of their kids, they go to these astrologers and they'll take out that 36-point system and match them. And they say the whole objective of a marriage is to produce kids, to settle down, quote unquote, in life. This is the traditional approach. And as we can see in 2025, it isn't working very well. It isn't working very well in all the counseling that I have seen with relationships. Why? Because we haven't understood some of the core principles. We still evaluate Jyotish with a very traditional lens, which was somewhere, God knows how far back in time. Times were different. Jyotish has to be interpreted in modern context. In modern context, since so much of what we have been given as humans is so convenient, this is an age of convenience. Even intelligence has come knocking at our door like AI. And in this day and age of AI, and people are having chatbots for boyfriend and girlfriends, ridiculous. It just goes to show how poorly we are connecting with one another as humans. And so I'm bringing my little piece here, understanding of Jyotish, in order to help you to understand and bridge this gap of intimacy that we find ourselves in, especially with the younger generation and all these negative influences they are having, things like body count and things like OnlyFans and all this rubbish that we have going on, chatbot for boyfriends and girlfriends. What nonsense is this? Let's get back to the drawing board, understand it for what it really means. Now we come to Mrigshira match, Mrigshira moon for the lady, and matching to Revati Nakshatra of the man, which is 10th place from itself. So it's a 10-4 axis playing out. So let us examine briefly what that could mean and what dynamics it will play out. And considering these 6, I would say I would put in the ballpark of kindness and empathy versus nurturing and freedom. This is the triangle that will play out in this relationship. Every relationship, when you have to matching of moon and nakshatras, we'll have this kind of dynamic where it says which are the dominant of these six characteristics playing out between the man and woman. So in this case, with Mrikshira moon in woman and Revati moon in the man, what will play out is more of kindness and empathy, that is Revati, versus nurturing and freedom, that is Mrikshira. So let's get into it and see what this brings about. That's the 410 dynamic you see on the screen over there. Now we have Mrikshira moon lady and we have a man in Revati, which is the 10th position from it, not necessarily the houses, it can be any one of the houses. Okay, so 10th position. Therefore, we have the 10-4 dynamic, which is sort of the reverse of 410 dynamic, so to speak. So first of all, compare the signs. The signs Revati is a water nakshatra, water sign, sorry. It falls in the zodiac sign of Pisces. So there is a Piscean energy of softness playing out here. Revati moon is quite tender in that fashion. And Mrikshira is also tender in that fashion. But there's a dynamic of air to water playing out in this, isn't it? This is also a kind of match, but there will be a dynamism which is unique to every nakshatra play out. So let's see what this one brings. The Mrikshira in Gemini moon, that is the lady, we are matching with Revati moon of the man in Pisces. So what this gives? The core weaving of this combination will give us a certain dynamic, which is as follows. Mrikshira, once again, is curiosity, is questioning, is dialogue based, because now we are talking about the last two padas of Mrikshira, which fall in Gemini. It's about dialogue, it's about movement, it's about communication, it's about adaptability, it's about seeking ideas continuously. Mrikshira is a constant explorer through life. And it has a very nervous energy since it is sitting in the sign of Mercury. Mercury is nervousness, nerves. Revati, on the other hand, the man's moon, will have more compassion. It is about completing a cycle. It completes the cycle of zodiac. Revati falls in Pisces. Emotional safety. It's about guidance. It's about devotion. It's about surrender. It's about soulful containment. Now the 10-4 axis signature, how it plays out here, is outer direction versus inner refuge. Mrikshira is going outward, Revati is going inward. Mental motion versus emotional rest. That's another dynamic that plays out. Questions, which is constantly Mrikshira's questioning things, versus acceptance in Pisces. Seeking versus arrival. See how different the dynamic is here. One is seeking constantly, one feels they have arrived. World-facing role, that is Mrikshira, versus home of the heart, which is him in this case. So this is a purpose to peace axis. One explores the world, other creates a place to return to. Very home-like environment the man has in this case. Mrikshira stimulates through ideas, words, and curiosity. Revati stabilizes through empathy, forgiveness, and emotional holding. The keywords being emotional sanctuary, nervous system soothing, guidance without control, trust-based bonding. These are the keywords that will play out in this relationship. Revati man becomes the emotional home in this case. Mrikshira woman becomes the mental messenger in this case. Attraction and tone of intimacy will play out as gentle magnetism, emotional safety, healing intimacy, spiritual undertone, Pisces, soft receptive sexuality. This is a very soft combination. Both the partners are very soft. Mrikshira is soft and so is Revati. Intimacy in this case would deepen through listening, Revati, assurance, Mrikshira, shared meaning, both of them, and quiet presence. So this is a quieter type of a couple we are looking at. The risk factors in this association would be over idealization of anything. Both of them put together, I would put it. One is very mental, one is very receptive. So, idealistic, more so Revati. Emotional dependence. This is creates that thing which we call over dependence. So, the freedom factor, which we spoke of in the first slide, needs to be addressed. It should not be a very clingy kind of relationship. Revati can tend to get that. Confusion versus clarity. Mrikshira can get confused. Revati might provide clarity, but Mrikshira goes on exploring stuff. It's not interested in pausing. One carrying the emotional weight. Guess which one? The man in this case is carrying too much of emotions of the other one. Other one is a dry sign, not really receptive. Avoidance of practical issues, both of them being one exploratory in the mind and the other one is always being an emotion, air and water sign. There might be a tendency to lose grip on reality. So if the moon is placed like this, I would urge you to check the other grounding planets. I would urge you to check where the Saturns are placed between both. I would urge you to check Mercury and Venus also. Hopefully, they are in more earthy signs. It fails if mind escapes responsibility and emotion absorbs too much. This is a healing, emotionally anchoring 10-4 pairing, powerful for long term bonding and relationships, emotional repair, and soulful partnerships. Best for those who value. This is the key here. What do you value, each one of you? It is not going to be given by Jyotish or it's not going to be given by any guru anywhere. You have to sit and study these things, understand these things. Best for those who value gentle intimacy, emotional refuge, and meaning over stimulation. Both these nakshatras are more centered on meaning. One at the emotional level, Pisces, Revati, and the other one, Mrikshira in Gemini. So you must take care of aspects like this before you get into partnerships based on this. If at all you want to take this as the counseling advice, and this is the way I do counseling using Jyotish, is you have to take this consciously. There is no unconscious thing here. You can't blindly walk into something which you are not sure what the operating manual of the other individual is. This is like the operating manual. Jyotish gives you fantastic operating manual. We can cut short all the psychology behind it and get to the brass tacks. I'll see you in the next. Take care.